Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to November Punk, where throughout the month of November, we are listening to nothing but punk albums. That's right, first reactions only, so I've never heard today's record. However, I am a fan of Mr. Iggy Pop, and I would even say that his album, The Idiot from 1977, is pretty much a near perfect record. I absolutely love that album front to back. I've also heard the debut record from the Stooges, that being, of course, the self-titled, and I own that on vinyl, which I got for free, actually, from an old record bin. But that is also a fantastic record, but that's not the one, of course, we're listening to today. Instead, the next step in their discography following Stooges is going to be the Stooges' 1970 record, Funhouse. With only 7 tracks and 36 minutes of runtime, some of these tracks do seem to be a little bit lengthy, with 2 of them passing the 7-minute mark. I'm not sure what to expect from this record. I've heard that the Stooges get progressively more intense and more unhinged, maybe, with their sound as we reach their third LP, Raw Power. However, there does seem to be quite a bit of debate online which record is the best among the first 3 LPs they did. So let's find out today how great Funhouse really is. So let's start with Down the Street. Ooh. There's Iggy, loud and proud. I love the steady rhythm. Very like hard rock, classic rock kind of fusion to this so far. A nice mean sound to it. Oh, that energy kicking in here. Oh. Quite a rambunctious sound. Scott Ashton on the drums here is... Oh. And Ron Ashton, the Ashton twins. Ashton brothers, I should say. Boy, oh boy, they are really just taking this track for a loop. The drum work, already insane, but this electric guitar just came soaring through, cutting through the rest of the mix. Very, very vivid. Sounds so electric. I really like the kind of steady pummeling sort of bass there in the background. And that drum just... Oh. Quite rattly. Whew. That an explosive kickoff. Let's keep it going to Loose. That guitar, man, this guitar, just like a very loud, right to the ears, explosive, sort of just like wall of sound, really is the word I'm looking for. It just feels so powerful, very, very encompassing.
Oh, look out.
Oh my goodness, and Iggy is a front man, certainly a character himself. Even the way he sings, very unorthodox. Sounds like he's like spitting into to the mic. What's he talking about there? Is he talking about some sort of sexual innuendo, or maybe could he be talking about a little bit of smack, as they may call it? Is he loose because he's drug fueled? Oh, I love those calls he does throughout this track, the shouting. I don't know who it is on that guitar though. That's really in the left side. It's got to be Ron Ashton, I believe. But his piercing guitar work is so visceral, really cuts through the entire mix. But it really gives such a strong, harrowing, demented atmosphere. Like, it's there. It is powerful. It shakes you. So heavily affected and washed out too. Love those muffled vocals. Like he's like right against the mic with it. Let's go right to TVI. Wow. Iggy. Chill. Iggy Pop. Incredible performer. I've seen his live stuff where he used to mutilate himself. The man in his heyday was just as much of a performer as he was just a singer. You know, he put on a whole show, and people went to see him get as unhinged, as loony bin as possible. The man was a force in his heyday, and man, you can really hear it here, just in his vocal performances, like those belting it outs, those howling, incredible. Very punk, before punk was really reaching any sort of peak. Pioneer for sure. This one does feel, so far at least, a little bit more dialed back in the mix. Although Iggy certainly didn't get the memo on that. Very rock and roll he is, but also a little bluesy, I would say. There's something about his performance that feels like it kind of harkens back to some classic 60s blues, you know? Like some southern blues or something. Very kind of live feel to this too. I would imagine it was made in a studio, but it feels very atmospheric and live. especially with Iggy. God damn. Like a dying animal. Psychs you out there. I will say, I can't imagine listening to this on the vinyl for the first time when you didn't have a tracker of time. I think the song's done, it just keeps going. Whew. As crazy and as intense as Iggy was on that track, for some reason the mix, this could be a streaming issue, but the mix of the instrumental did feel a little bit quieter, a little bit more muted than the first two tracks. I'm going to chalk that up and imagine that is more on the streaming service or maybe some sort of mixing error, but I don't think that is the fault necessarily of the group because I can't imagine they would mix anything low. So TVI though, that aside, another solid track, a great track to showcase kind of Iggy's insanity. You know, whereas the first two tracks I feel like showcased the drumming and the guitar work far more. Iggy's yelps, his howls, his screams, much more on display on TVI. Here's Dirt, 7 minutes. Now this I'm expecting this one to really let go, let loose. And maybe it'll take its time. We are starting a bit slower after all. It does have my 5 million streams after all. Oh, this mix is certainly much clearer, much louder than the last track. This one's really hypnotic. Kind of getting lost in the sauce here. I'm really digging this continuous sort of repetitive nature here. Very hypnotic. Oh. Very throaty delivery. He's struggling to get it out. Oh. Fully succumbing into this kind of odyssey. Very much like a trip this track is. Oh boy. Is that Ron again? Really great sense of atmosphere on this one too, like just so vivid and animalistic. Kind of evil and tortured in tone. Kind of like a bit of like a jazzy improvisational tone to this one. Incredible track, super hypnotic, kind of like an extended improvisational jam, it would seem, where it just kind of takes you on this whole odyssey. Feels very slow, very calculated, and as you reach that halfway mark, you don't even realize how much it's crept up on you already. And as you reach the end, everything is just so vivid and whacked out. Incredible. Very noisy, very jazzy in a sense, while still feeling very classic rock and roll, and very, of course, punk. I think Iggy certainly tries to hold that down, no matter how much they like to range out and go to different genres. Iggy's always there to bring things down to a much more punk attitude with his very tortured sounding vocals. Here's 1970, continuing on. I do know the debut record, The Stooges, contains a track called 1969, given that's the year it came out. And this one here has 1970. Does Raw Power have one with the year? It would seem not. Interesting, though. Let's continue. 1970. This one also, production-wise, feels a little bit more muted. I don't know what it is. Again, it has to be the streaming or something, because it doesn't match the intensity of the other tracks, volume-wise. This one's certainly a bit more classic rock so far. Has a nice vintage sound to it, but chalk that up to the era. Very repetitive, hypnotic grooves on this record. Keep you latched on. Oh. Huh? Steve McKay coming in on here with his sax. Here, I was saying this track wasn't doing too much for me. I was going to say it's lacking a flair. Maybe the sax is what I was looking for. Oh. Oh, I love the squealing. Oh my god, he is flying on that saxophone, arpeggios. Iggy's like scratchy now. Very throaty. Incredible. You know what, that track really picks up in that second half. I was gonna say a bit of a slow start. The first half was kind of losing me after a while, as hypnotic as some of the kind of melodies and riffs are, with the repetition. Once that sax comes in and Iggy just lets loose vocally, nothing but high energy from there on out. So the track I'm fairly mixed on, because I do think the first half is a little meandering. Could be trimmed a little bit down, but man, the outro certainly pulls things together. Here's Funhouse, though, the title track, at nearly 8 minutes. Let's go. Let's see how the title track sounds. I'm expecting... Is this going to be the weird one? Is this going to be the weirdest one yet? Well, it opens with the sax, so... Waste no time with these. The instruments feel like they're kind of grating against each other. Kind of doing their own thing. Oh, he's carrying on from the last one? He's still feeling alright. Kind of a bit of a jazz rock flair to this record as well. Slightly, I would say, Frank Zappa-ish. This one's certainly a lot more all over the place. It feels a lot more improvisational, especially that sax and our guitarist. Just feel like they're riffing off one another. This one really just kind of like exploring every avenue. It's hard to dissect, but it's a very jammy, extended cut so far. Very loose overall. Oh. God, it's like... Bro sounds like Donald Duck here. The man is unhinged. I mean, we should have known, but... Is he just saying blah? Is he saying words at this point? Iggy's own version of scatting. He's just there for a good time, not a long time, it would seem. Ooh. Whew. Super, just all over the place, improvisational, jammy, pure fun. Honestly, on Funhouse, fitting title. You just feel like you're on a journey with no destination whatsoever. Between these two 7-minute epics, I did prefer Dirt. I would say I think I had more going for it, but Funhouse still extremely vivid, very just powerful listen overall. Here's LA Blues, which seems to be an instrumental, which is fine. I'm expecting a lot of yelps, screams like that there from Mr. Iggy Pop, though. A very twisted sound with this sax. It only adds a more disturbed atmosphere to things. Very noisy. Oh my goodness. We're just continually to ramp up here. We're just cycling around here. Is this whole track going to be nothing but this insanity? I don't know. I think I love this. Getting Stockholm Syndrome or something. Oh my. I don't even want to pause this because I want to ruin this momentum they've got going here. I will give it a like because this is a incredible finale for what they're doing. Nothing but feedback as we come to a close. Whoa. What? That track was amazing. Even though it's the lowest streams, I think I could see why it's a little out there. Even for the Stooges, we get as insane, as untethered as possible, closing out that record with LA Blues. Oh my goodness, that is pure noise, really. And it takes a little bit to get used to. At first, I was a little caught off guard by the gratingness of it. But as somebody who is admittedly a big fan of Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed, as someone who thinks that record is overhated by a lot of people, or just people that don't kind of get what it was going for, I think this track here, LA Blues, is right up my alley. Because that was nothing but a massive wall of sound, of noise, nothing but a cacophony of every single instrument clashing together. We had the entire crew here with Iggy himself. I don't even think there was lyrics there. Maybe there's some loose ideas here and there. But the man was just howling over sax, over feedback from guitars, over loose cannon drum work. LA Blues was insane, and a perfect finale for this record. A perfect finale. Honestly, I don't think there could have been a better finale. And no track here fits better as the finale, considering how just explosive that was. I feel like we hit a climax with LA Blues. Incredible track. Maybe my favorite. Dirt, Funhouse, also really great jammy tracks. My least favorite, we're going to say TVI. I think maybe it was just poorly mixed, or maybe the streaming here was a little quieter. There was something about it that just felt kind of absent. Loose was a really great track. Down on the Street kicked things off strong. Honestly, this whole record has a very distinct, powerful sort of entity behind it, and a really great identity overall. Certainly very, very punk. Maybe one of the most punk records we've heard. the attitude on this thing is one of pure, untethered, I don't want to even say rage. They don't sound necessarily angry at times. They're just doing what they want. And you can't get more punk than just doing whatever you feel like, no matter what the label execs or anyone else in the world may say. An incredible record. Wow. 36 minutes, and it is so explosive. What an impact that final track is going to leave on me. I don't really have too much to say. I just think this thing is an absolute must listen if you're interested in punk and proto-punk, the development of punk. But on top of that, you got some really great kind of instrumental jazz elements to this, some really great jammy elements, classic rock, hard rock fusion, experimental rock, just a really solid blend of ideas that fill to the brim and spill over by the end. Whew. That does it for the listening portion of this video. Absolutely just baffling record. Absolutely baffling. With only one more punk album to listen to for November Punk, I will go ahead and announce what we're doing for December. But I'll say this. The next album we're listening to, I'll just quickly get that out of the way, is going to be Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables by Dead Kennedys. Hardcore Punk 1980. I believe that album came out. And I know this is a record that a lot of people love and enjoy, has garnered significant praise, and is a record that is in the hardcore punk scene, which I don't think we covered enough of. We covered a lot of post-punk, but not so much, some classic hardcore punk, I feel like. I don't know. We kind of missed out on some there. So we'll do that to close out the series, and then we'll kick off Dance December. We're doing Dance December, dance music. What does that mean? Anything that could be labeled in a subgenre as dance, I will accept as a suggestion. Go ahead and throw it down below. But kicking it off, we will start Dance December with Daft Punk's Discovery. That or Homework. It's going to be one of the first two albums. I'm not too sure which one I'm leaning towards, but we're certainly going to kick it off with Daft Punk because I've never listened to a full Daft Punk record. And I mean, hey, we're doing Dance December. How do you get more dance-focused than some classic techno? But I have a lot of dance albums I'd like to check out, including that of Thriller, including Imaginal Disc, and maybe a few others. But go ahead and suggest any down below. I'll see what I can do. As always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.